Welcome to Dungeons and Dyslexia. My name's Adrian, and today I've got yet another first for you in my good, the bad, and the arty reviews. So these are where I take a book off my shelf or a PDF. As I say, it's a first for you, where I review the what's good about a book, what's bad about a book, the art within the book. And the big first for today is it's actually going to be a solo role-playing system. I discovered this only a couple of days ago. I didn't know it existed. I've tried a couple of solo dungeon crawl books. And as dyslexic, I really find it difficult to read rules, take in rules, and sort of have everything that goes alongside the game, try and create the narrative feel for my character, keep the story going in my mind. And a couple of days ago, I was on Kickstarter just looking at, you might have seen my video for the expansion for 2D6 Dungeon by Toby Lancaster, and I was intrigued from the outset. I've been on, downloaded the copy of the core book from Drive-Thru RPG, and it's absolutely bloody fantastic. So, oh, sorry, this is not meant to be a spoiler, but this is probably the reason I'm doing this review so quickly. So, what I want to do is I'll take you over to the book. I'll share the book. We'll go through it. We'll look at what you get within there. I think you've got a spoiler coming up that I'm pretty excited by this. So here is the cool rules book. As I said, I'll share in the links below where you can get a copy of this game. I'll have a drive-through affiliate that if you want just the PDF version to order. Spoilers again coming up. This is going to score quite highly. I think it's really worth watching this. Even if you've never solo dungeon crawled an RPG before, this is just absolutely amazing rules. So what I'll do is I'll take you through the rule book. We've got a couple of things. We've got cards here to look at, and then there's a dungeon, a lot of tables to help you create the cards. So here's the opening card artwork from the book. So it's designed by Toby Lancaster. So it's a solo player dungeon crawl with rules. I said I've played a couple of others. I just couldn't get on with them. This game just uses 2d6 pretty much for everything, hence the title 2d6 Dungeon. The This rulebook itself is a human ancestry dungeon here, and all you have to do is survive 10 levels to get to your legendary status. So you are a solo character that is being sent into a dungeon because you want to become a hero, and you go 10 levels down, assuming you survive it, and you've hit the dungeon lord's level, and you complete that, you're a winner. You've beaten the book. There are further expansions that you can find on Drive-Thru RPG and on their website. Again, I'll link those in the description below. And they have different themes for the dungeon. So this is a human ancestry dungeon. So everything, all the rooms, all the furniture within the rooms are going to be human made. And the dungeon itself so it's very sort of man-made and structured, and all the creatures that you fight are humanoid-ish, if that makes sense. So that there's which should follow on when you look at some of the other dungeons if you get into this. So contents itself, it's a 55-page book. I've only got the PDF, which is what I'm going through here. I do think I'm going to need to go and buy a copy of the main book. I'm definitely going to need a copy of the Codex book, which I'll come on to when we get there. Introduction. So 2D6 is a classic dungeon style print and play roll and write game. So it's been inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, sort of classic Dungeons and Dragons games, where you're just going into a dungeon to get to. Here you go, on your character sheet, you're gonna have this tracker here, and you just tick off each level. There are a few side quests which will keep one of my characters happy, but more often than not, you're just going around the dungeon, finding your way, trying to find the stairs down to the next level, going down the stairs, get onto the next level, and then as the level of the dungeon levels up with you, the monsters get more powerful. And the idea here is you want to become a legend. 2d6 is all you're going to need. The dice, it's that simple. You've got a couple of d3 rolls here, 2d6 and d66, which is where you'll take the six dice and the other six dice. So give them a different color. And one will be 1 through to 6, and as in like tens to 60, and the other one will be your 6 down to 1. You will also need two different color dice. So here you've got primary dice and secondary die. This will make sense as the game goes on. Don't worry about it for now. Just make sure your D6 are two different colors. You will also need two more. So you need about four D6. Creating the adventure is nice and simple. So the character sheet is at the back of the book. And when you design your character, you're going to choose three weapons. You're going to either a longsword, a great axe, or a heavy mace. And you pick that and you write it down, and then each weapon will have a maneuver. I'll come on to the maneuvers when we get to the combat part, which for something that's quite comprehensive is incredibly simple. Okay, so this game covers a lot of things, does things very well. There's a lot of rules, and it's deep but simple. And that is where the beauty of this is. So you'll have the same weapon throughout, and each maneuver and each weapon will have multiple maneuvers, and you'll just start off with two maneuvers. You'll also have some starting armor, which then will give you a dice set and then a modifier to damage. You can only wear up to three items of armor throughout the whole dungeon, so there's a few limits on things you can carry. You're going to need stuff like healing potions, rations, because every time you go down to a different level, you're going to need food. If you don't have food, you're going to start getting iller and, starting taking hit point damage. Adventures table. So this is your classic level up. So if you think about 5th edition or any leveling based system, Pathfinder, anything like that. So you'll start here as your title, as your raw. You have a number of max and maneuvers. So you've got maneuvers are special things you do your weapons, and pulling them off means you hit. Again, I'll deal with that at combat. And then you've got in the game, you've got level 2 maneuvers, sorry, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So as you level up, the damage you can do becomes more powerful, but also you will have more maneuvers. And the more maneuvers you have, the more chance you have to hit. You've got experience to level up, a shift total, which is a wonderful mechanic. Again, I'll deal with the shift mechanic once we get to it. And that's really, but it's mostly in the combat part. You got a discipline total, so this is a plus in general to spell casting, and then precision tokens total is to add to the dice roll. So it's 2d6, you add it to your dice roll, and it's for things like picking locks, avoiding traps, things like that. And then this is your base amount of hit points that your character gets. Every time you level up, you're going to get an extra 10 hit points. And you level up instantly as well. This is and you can level up mid combat. So if you're fighting multiple combatants and you get enough experience to go through as you kill one, you will instantly sort of level up, gain that extra rage. You could get additional maneuvers, learn new fighting styles, and fight far more deadly. So yeah, it's leveling up's not fast. I'm only up to level 2 at this moment in time with my second character, because my first character got to level 4 and died. These things happen. But this is why I love it. I didn't actually mind dying. There are other games I've played when, especially solo games, and I think we've all done this with, Warlock of Firetop Mountain, the fighting fantasy books, where you're holding multiple pages open, trying to work out what's the optimal choice for your character. But I'm so engrossed in this game, I actually didn't say I didn't care that I died is the wrong thing to say, but it wasn't as traumatic as I thought it would be. Yeah, so basically, if you're dying, you can die from poison, starvation, and you don't roll on different tables. So going into the dungeon, say this dungeon is a human ancestry, and because it's human, the beautiful thing is we don't need to worry about light. So that I'm assuming Toby has written different books that are available where you're going to need lights and light penalties. Creating the dungeon is done by a d6. I'm not going to go through the rules. So you roll 2d6. One dice will deal with how high it goes up or vertical access, and the other one will deal with the horizontal. And there are rules. They create random rooms. If they're not too wide, they create corridors, and you just fill up. So your map is written on one of these grids. There's some in the back. You can download them on the websites. and you sort of start on an outer boundary, and as you roll the dice, you will build up the map as you go along. And only once the map is finished, as in predominantly complete, and you can't go any further, will you then find the stairs down to the next level. So it will force you to fill up the map. So there's a little bit of being clever and paying attention to where you build the map when you're building the map. And when you roll in the rooms, there are different tables to roll. And I'll show you the tables at the end in the table codex book, which is vastly comprehensive, quite confusing to start with, and something I desperately need a full copy of. Trying to run it off a PDF is an absolute, it's really difficult. I kind of need page holders and stuff to make it a little bit quicker to play it. From a playtime point of view, when I'm going through this, you're looking at a couple of hours. To it's about sort of half an hour-ish, 45 minutes per level. It's starting to speed up now. The room mechanics quite detailed, but once you sort of get them out, it does become a lot quicker creating your rooms. And the rooms themselves will have a certain number of exits that's randomly rolled as well. So some of the doors can be locked. This is brilliant. Some doors will be portcullises, some stone slabs, magical barriers, tracking barriers, secret doors as well. So if you get stuck, there is a secret door mechanic. There are curtains as well that as opposed to full-on doors. As you're going down the levels, you're going to need your rations. You're going to need to eat. You can rest on the stairs to get a few much hit points. You can actually just leave the dungeon as well once and go into town and spend money, do things like arm wrestling. And if you've rescued people, if you've rescued prisoners in the dungeon, you might interact with those and they might give you gifts, etc. So enemy corpses, you can loot the corpses, but and if you want to take, it's a bit of an adult theme. So if you want to take bits of their body, you can. But doing stuff with there's rules for herb rebels is fires, offerings to gods. Here, so Toby has created, I think there's 8 gods in the world, and you can pray to the gods to gain favors, to get additional powers and abilities. And they might even give you gifts if it does really well in the role. Say precision checks. Think of it like a dexterity check or save potentially. You can fix things in the dungeon if you've got the right equipment. You can, well, sometimes when you kill animals, I'm not as a massive dog lover. You can kill animals, and then you can take bits of them, butcher them for meat, which I know it's just a game, but for some reason, there's that bit in First Blood Rambo, absolutely fine killing humans. When the dogs jump out and run off, you hear the dogs cry. I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm a bit irrational. Well, it's not irrational, is it? Caring about a creature, a wild animal, no, sorry, domestic pet. And even when it's on films, I just don't like it. So the narrative moments of combat. Okay, let's just do combat. Here we go. This is what we're on about the maneuvers. What you're looking to do, and this is really good, the way it manipulates the dice and this is the mechanic here, shifting the dice. So you roll your 2d6, and so you've got a primary dice and a secondary dice. And what you're looking to do is, let's say you've got the stab maneuver here. You want a 2 and a 4. If you manage to get a 2 and a 4, so you roll your 2d6, and you get a 2 and a 4, you've instantly hit, and you're going to do a hit. And if you do the stab, you do a d6 minus 2. Simple as that. However, if you roll a 3 and a 4, and if you actually do the natural roll, so if you roll it, you're technically critical, and you do an extra +2 damage. It's not called critical, and I'm sure it'll come on. Where is it? It'll be in here somewhere. I can't remember exactly what it's called. And then you've got your shift points. So you start off with 2 shift points. So what that means is you can move or manipulate the dice up and down by up to 2 pips, or 1 dice twice, 1 dice each. Each dice once, I should say. However, you can't go from a 6 to a 1, but you can go from a 1 to a 2 to a 3 down to a 2. You can go from a 6 to a 5, or a 1 to a 2. You can't go back. So when you're picking your maneuvers, so looking at this one here, carving blow, which is it's going to be harder to pull off because you can only roll a one or a two and manipulate it down to a one. Where with getting a four and a two, you could roll a five, a three, or a one, and then manipulate either side. So, which is why it does slightly more damage for this carving blow. And as you go up, your shift points do increase. So the amount you can spend. Interrupt stats. This is the stats where, so you've got to pay attention for your primary and secondary. All of the creatures will have some sort of, well, not all of them, most of them will have some sort of interrupt there. And if, so for this example, on the secondary dice, if you've got a one, it means -2 damage. So you've also got to pay attention to when you're doing your maneuvers, what creatures deflect bonuses kick in or distract you. So you've got to kind of, obviously, you're going to look at what you rolled initially and you want to try and hit, but you might find that one of the hits is slightly better than the other because of the interrupt. So sequences, you're going to go first, then they go first exactly. Oh, here you go. It's an exact strike. That's what it's called. So if you roll the normal hit without having to manipulate the dice in any way or shift the dice, I should say, you just do an extra 2 damage. And if you don't get your maneuver off, you miss. Fatigue dice. Now, this is an absolutely incredible bit of, it's just genius, I think, on Toby's behalf. So you're going to need a couple more D6, which is why I said you need 4. I nearly hold up the wrong amount of fingers there. And what you do is you put a D6 face it on number 1 here, and you don't put a dice on here initially. So at the start of the combat, you put it on 1. The second round, this goes to 2. The third round, it goes to 3. The fourth round, it goes to 4. When it goes to 4, both you and the creatures you're fighting increase their shift by a +1. It goes to 5 +2, 6 +3. So as the combat goes on and your characters and the creatures get weaker, more tired because the combat, it's tiring fighting something. Thematically, you're seeing more openings, so you can actually manipulate. So having, shift dice once it goes to 6, the combat fatigue dice go into 6, and you can shift up to 5. You're almost guaranteed to hit your opponent every single time. The flip side is they're pretty much guaranteed to hit you because they get the same advantage as you. Creatures also have mishaps, so if they roll double 1 or double 6, they'll either have a mishap, which is something bad, or double 6, it's a critical that's going to go really badly for you. Armor. If you're wearing armor, you're looking if, so you start off with 1 armor, but you pick up more, then if they roll, so let's say you're wearing a jerkin and their primary dice is a 4, then that is going to block some of the damage, and it might be 1 or 2 damage that it goes on. So if you go beyond 7 rounds, it doesn't, the fatigue dice just carries on. So say there's rules here for fighting multiple creatures, throwing weapons, recovering thrown weapons, fear, winning combats, potions and bombs. There's rules here for potions. I say it's very, very in depth. Here we go. Nicely, you'll see this is one of the monsters you fight, so Apocryphy. So here it is. It's level 1. H stands for human. It's got 12 hit points. You've got to do 12 damage. When you kill it, it's going to give you 35 XP. So you get to first level. Well, to second level, you need 100. So you're going to have to kill 3 of these. Get my maths right. He's only got a shift dice of 1. So you start with +2. Then you're going to get +1. When you kill them, you get to roll on the treasure pot 1, which again is in this book, which we'll look at. The interrupt. It's got blinding smoke on primaries of 1s and 4s, and he can do -2 damage. And he's got a glowing shield on the secondary of 2s. So you could theoretically, if you roll badly and don't change it, you could end up with -4 damage. And then when he's attacking you, he's got his maneuvers here, bit of description, and then the mishaps that you're going to get. Okay, and then onto the magics. There's 3 different types of magic in there. We've got the using the magic or scrolls. We've got using magic potions. And then finally, the power of the gods and calling for favors from the gods. So using magic scrolls is quite easy. So you normally go first in combat against, well, every creature I found, I'm going first. And you're just rolling 2d6 and you're looking to get doubles. Some of the more powerful scrolls will have a dispel double. So if you roll a certain double, it means something bad's going to happen, and then you're going to roll another table. Magic potions you just taken to heal, and then call in favors of the gods here. So you will give you an idea of some of the favors that you can get, and if you do really well on that roll, they will actually appear in front of you, and then you get an additional gift from them. Some additional rules here for blooded and soaked. Blooded is when you're covered in blood. It's not the blooded where you're at 50% hit points, because that's what I was reading from fourth edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which we actually bring into fifth edition to let the players know that, they're halfway through the hit points, just give them an idea of where they are. But if you're covered in blood from, killing too many creatures, or you have decided to cannibalize some of the creatures, you've got, I think it's eight. Is it eight yet? So you've got eight more rooms where you've got to clean it all off, and you're going to need to find some water to clean yourself off, or you're going to start getting sickness from a fever. And soaked, you need to flip where you need to dry yourself off. You need to find some sort of fire so you don't get pneumonia and you lose hit points. So as the levels go on, there will be different modifiers to the dungeons as well. I think in this game, it's level 6 where the dungeon changes. You can increase the difficulties through armor and being outnumbered, but I don't think it's the easiest as it is. Maybe it's me or my luck at this moment in time, but it is fun. And you can leave the dungeon. So this is all here, leaving the dungeon. So if you've met prisoners, there's a table here. You can go to the market, buying and selling items. You can go and see the engraver, the herbalists. Thing in the evenings, go into the taverns, loot lockups, arm wrestling tables. And if you do manage to complete all 10 levels, you get your legendary reward. So, and here's the character sheet. So this is for you. So it's name, your level, health points, your XP, your shift dice, your discipline, precisions. So that's a +1 or +2. Weapon, which stays the same. You'll only ever get 3 maneuvers, which is the most. Every time you level up, you can exchange a maneuver in and out. Armor pieces, so you can only have 3. So your magic scrolls, and they will disintegrate as you use them. Your level tracker down here, your potions, the effects, blooded, how soaked, your coins, gold, silver, and copper. And like it's like standard Dungeons and Dragons, 1 gold is worth 10 silver, 10 silver's worth 1 silver's worth 10 copper. You got additional thing, liberated side quests you can take. Favors from the gods, I said there was 8, there was 6, it was close. And then you've got your narrative moments that you need to write down, large and heavy items, small items, additional items, rations, lockup. We've then got some reference guides that you can print off, and reference sheets. You're going to need this fatigue one. Ideally, it's one of the big ones. And then these are just handy things to have to one side. We've then got the gods you can print off and then put on the back sheets. And then some of the specialist herbs that you can find in there. And then you've got some map pages at the back of the book. And then a reminder here for combat and for magic, how it uses. And then you've got tables at the back, which are the repeat of the tables within the book. And then finally, you've got a flow here. Let's just turn it sideways. So start of the turn, what you do, end of turn, building, creating rooms, etc. And then following through, and lock types. So unique rooms, you can only have 1 unique room per level. And some of them, they don't even kick in until you have to have, like, it will say, like, you need to have created 50% of the map. So it's very, very, well, say the rules are simple. I hope they sounded simple enough to you, but it just takes in so much. Right, what we're going to do now is just look at, so what also comes in the game is these are all the monster stats for the game, and there are just pages and pages. You can print them off. I've noticed on his website, Toby's website, DR Games, you can actually go and buy these cards. I'm very tempted to actually just go and buy these cards for this dungeon. I'll show you the website at the end of this video. And then this is the codex that I was talking about. And this is almost 5 million pages of tables, it feels like. And I don't like this. And the reason I don't like it is the PDF. It's not that I don't like it. I think it's amazing. I love random tables. I've always loved rolling on random tables. But this is 145 pages-ish of random tables. And they're all sideways. which is a nightmare for me. Luckily, they are in different colors, which makes it easier to. I'm just going to turn this sideways so it does become easier to read. And so, what the game will do at certain aspects, when you kill someone, it will say roll on. I need to actually find rolling tables. So armor random tables. Here we go. Some these rolling d6s. You might be rolling 2d6. It's so magic ring table, scroll tables. Here we go. Here's a 2d6. So the bag table, two different bag tables. You spot a bag and open it, and inside you find the bottom of the bag, carefully wrapped in leather, is some cheese, game one rations. So it's just huge. And the loot table. So it does give you guides, and what you need to do is bookmark. I need to print this or buy a printed copy and then bookmark all the tables because the game itself will refer to PT3 and PT4, pouch tables 1 and 2. So you know to go to page 24. So religious pouch tables, normal pouch tables, finding gold. It's nothing, it's empty. If you can think of a random table, it's going to be in here. Sarcophagus loot, tea chest table. Have you ever seen a tea chest table in your life? Never. Urn loot, encounter with prisoner table. So this just goes on and on and on. And so this is creating the rooms. So all the rooms are, so this is your level 2 rooms here. And so you got the uniqueness stuff and what exits you've got, whether it's random curtains, reinforced, what encounters actually in the room as you roll it up, description of the room, and then the rolls here say that you roll will determine what the room is. I say like bear cages. It's just huge. Toby has spent an awful lot. This is definitely a project of love. Um, and I absolutely love it. I'm just gonna stop sharing this now because you've kind of seen the game itself. I'll take you to the website in a minute, but I hopefully you can see through my love of the game how much it's just scoring. So what do what's the good? Just everything. It's say because it's cheap. I think my PDF copy cost me £6 something. So that's about so that it's you can play a board game. This feels like a board game where I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of pounds over my lifetime buying board games for a dungeon crawl experience. I remember getting HeroScape as a kid. Um, and I had no one to play with because I got it for Christmas, and my brother didn't play it. My mum and dad didn't want to play it with me, so I was just moving these little characters around the board, going, this doesn't work as a solo. Why isn't there any solo games out there? I know Warhammer Quest did a solo one, but that was just incredibly complicated. And you could quite easily adapt this into decent sized maps with figures and characters, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. All you need is pen and paper and map. Spend less than that $8, £6.50, and you're away. You've got everything you need. And trust me, you're going to have an absolute fantastic time with this. The bad. Um, I, I struggle to find anything bad about this other than okay, I'll be honest, the downtime and the learning curve is quite steep for creating rooms. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's just a slow thing that's going to take you a few hours to get into, be able to do and create your dungeon quite quickly. Once you can, you're flying. And that book of tables, I think, is bad for me purely because I haven't got a physical copy of it. And that's me only just discovering this game to go. The combat mechanics are absolutely amazing. The shift dice, the maneuvers, the interrupts from the enemies. I think I'm going to need the cards as well. You can buy the book of cards on the thing. Arty is quite simple. I'll show you when we went through the book. The art is pretty poor. But the art that's in here is good, but there isn't any. Realistically, it's functioning to break up the text. Oh, I think about the text. It's very well written for dyslexics because there are huge gaps in between the paragraphs. The text and the font is nice and clear. Their examples are really good. It's the art. I say the art on all the creatures and monsters is absolutely amazing. There's just not a lot of art in the book, everything. And what I like with this is you get your little bit of description of what they're going to do, how they act, and then you can see them up in the top right hand corner for each creature, the colouring, and it's just so absolutely, utterly amazing. I'm not going to give you my final score yet. You know it's going to go with a big score. But what we'll do, I just want to finally close on the DR Games website. So here you are. This is Toby's company, I assume, and their website with the online shop of all the things that you can buy. And this looks, I think I want this, the bookmarks, to because you can then it lets you see the easily the door symbols here for everything, and it gives you how how to make your spells, pick locks, precisions. So I think these bookmarks look really useful. Um, I don't know whether I'm going to get a print and play copy of the book, but I might do. Not concerned about the dice, but I think actually having the X and the Y axis are it's quite a sweet idea. Print and play for serals, but we've got additional dungeons, additional creatures. But the big thing that interests me, so we've got a haunted house one here, the lair expansion. We've got another. Is that another lair? It looks differently, doesn't it? You get lair expansion volume 2, but where is it here? The printed combat cards for £12. That's going to save me all that printing I've got to do. That's going to save me a shed ton of printing, time, money. We've got some round cards here. And I know this, I've always said this is a cheap game. You can play this for hours on end for $8, £6, just over. But I kind of think I want to go into this big style. I'm really enjoying this. This is going to be the sort of game that I think my wife's going to get really annoyed with because I'm going to go, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to watch whatever? And I'm going, no, I'm going to carry on playing my dungeon. So on Kickstarter currently, there is, let me just put it in. If you haven't watched the previous video, we have got, um, I, actually, I'll put it down in the description below. I've just looked, this video is already going quite long. So link to it for the Kickstarter for the legendary um, dungeon is already up. I did that. That was up 2 days ago. But this, there's other stuff, round packs, and then if you go to Drive Through RPG, say if you want the RPG, please do use my affiliate link. It does help my channel make a little bit more money, a little bit more money, some money. It's not like I'm making any money doing this, but we've got, if you go to the DR games here as well, you've got all of these that you can get. He's also got this rad zone, which I'm going to take a look at some stage, but ultimately it's fantastic. This is currently right up there in my top 10 game of the year. I'm not even sure whether it's don't know. I need to have a look. But it's definitely something that will be hitting the table many, many nights for me. And then once I've mastered this dungeon, I've got more dungeons to go on to. So Toby, congratulations. You've made another fan. This is absolutely brilliant. Because there's no art really in the book, I can't give it a perfect 10 out of 10 because that would be big. But I am going to go with a massive, for me, because I don't like. Gee, it'd be 9.5 if that tables wasn't, and maybe it would be better if I had a printed plate. But I'm going to go to 9 out of 10. It is a monster hit. Go and buy this game. You will not regret it. So hopefully if you've enjoyed this video, you found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. Please let me know in the comments below if you've enjoyed this. If you've got this and you're playing it, please let me know. Out of the new expansions, where should I go next? What should I buy? What should I look for? And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. It's someone pointed out to me the other day. Encourage people to subscribe. It is free to subscribe. It will help me see more people. So if you're still here, thank you for getting this far in. Seriously, this is probably one of the longest videos I've ever done, but as you can see, I really do like this game. So yeah, my name's Adrian from Dungeons and Dyslexia. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video. See you soon.